Yeah,
Hey, don't forget
Canadian
they can
geese are
also
the
eat
absolute
people.
worst. You have those in your yard, you're going to have poop everywhere. Yeah, get rid of them. We don't want them. They're illegal anyway. But no, it really is a good point to bring up, that sometimes assimilation is not going to happen, and you have to evaluate that as a country, because otherwise you will look like the UK. You will look like London, where, okay, you can ban the firearms, but now you have people running people over with cars or going down the street with a machete, right? It's never going to stop. So I think the perfect example, in Sweden, especially Sweden, they bit more than they can chew with immigration. And he's the top political, his name is Heinrich, top political commentator there. He's right wing. I did an interview with him back in 2019. He came out to Los Angeles. I flew out, and he explained that they let so many Haitians, immigrants from all across the world that were not willing to assimilate to the culture, they bit more than they can chew. And then within 1 year, it got so bad with terrorism in Sweden that they had to create a national bomb squad. Go figure, right? That is the whole problem with this. So I am totally fine with not allowing the cultures like that into the United States. And I know Charlie Kirk has said that before. Some of these cultures will not assimilate. But I'm not trying to throw us off topic, but I know we do have the NATO summit coming up tomorrow, I believe. And I hope Donald Trump withdraws the United States from NATO. And I'll leave it there. Get us out.
So I'm actually glad you brought it up because it was stated earlier, and I have to agree with David on this one, which is if this really is the end of it, we are in such a strong position with Russia and China and the rest of the so-called axis of evil because we just essentially neutered their gas station, right, and showed our strength while we're at it. That's a big deal. The leverage that we're going to have in negotiating, and all of them are probably going to be able to save face, especially Russia. Russia can now save face and kind of put the blame on Iran if it comes to the negotiating table. This might have been necessary for Putin to be able to approach without, losing his own country, possibly. So like there is a lot of potential and ripple effects and potential implications as a result of this that I thought were accurately articulated earlier by David when he said that. So yeah, you're 100% correct. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, man. Back to you.
I just wanted to add to that probably one of the smartest things that Trump's done is he's taken Syria off of the map, and
Bro,
he's
you
also
can't you
taken.
can't smack you can't be smacking food on my mics. I can't do that to my listeners. You're gonna have to swallow that shit or something. Go ahead.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I just what I was saying was Trump's gone ahead and done the smartest thing by taking Syria off the map. So basically, there's not a presence for Russia in the Middle East. It was probably just leaning on Iran so much, and now that's going off the table as well.
That's fair. If you have your hand up and no, go ahead,
Well,
Walter.
well,
Okay.
plus, and I think the UAE, I think, by the way, so now they essentially, if I'm not mistaken, the UAE is going to be the principal country that's going to print all of Syrian's currency. So the UAE and Saudi Arabia control Syria, which those are both two friendly countries to the United States. So as I was talking about with Diligent last week, I thought the entire point of this move was actually more of a pressure on China. And you got to think about it, right? If China's relying on 20% of their oil comes from directly from Iran, and we just struck Iran in the dead of night without a single person hitting any of our facilities, without a single person hitting any of our aircraft, and they didn't even know they were there. And that means we have the pretty strong negotiating leverage with China. We can shut off 20% of your oil if we needed to.
Another thing,
I mean, that's
Walter, to
pretty.
your point, another thing is BRICS. I hope this puts a real hurt on BRICS because they're meeting on July 6th. But I want to bounce off something Mike said because this is really important. We're definitely in the W here, D, but what we've got is Zohran Mandani tomorrow in New York City. Now, this is real serious, okay? This guy is a complete um, Islamo, Marxist, red, green, you name it. Daddy is in Columbia University working on the pro Palestine stuff. And don't forget Erica Chenoweth and all that think tank. These people are all of a family. If he takes over New York City, it's going to make San Francisco look like Jacksonville. I'm serious. This is such a bad election. Now we don't love Cuomo, but we have to pick our poison here, folks. So anybody you know in New York City, the final is tomorrow. Now be sure and tell them do not rank the vote. This is really important because a lot of people don't understand ranked choice voting. They cannot put a rank on their vote or it could really mess up Cuomo. But we cannot let Zoran get in there. He's young, he's progressive to the max, and he will put an Islamic spin on New York to the likes we've never seen. May I remind us about London? Do we want New York City to become like London? I don't think so. Thank you for the
I,
mic.
I wanted to say this on top of what you just said. I will personally, and you can quote me on this, I will personally campaign for Cuomo if it means keeping Zolomon, whatever the hell his name is, Zohan, out of office. I will personally campaign for Cuomo.
100%.
But the election is
100%.
tomorrow. The election is tomorrow. So get going.
Shit, I guess I got to fly up there. All right.
Yeah, yeah. The Zorhan cannot win. By the way, just for people who are aware, the Zorhan is a communist, and we can't have a communist running New York City.
Not
He's a
just communist,
100%
communist,
agree with on
he's
that.
radical
Islamo
Islamist.
communist. He's
He's a
Islamo
Lamo.
communist.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Yes.
pure Islamo. This is worse than just communist. This is radical Islam in New York, running New York City.
We don't want New York.
Ilhan
Yeah,
Omar, huh?
Well,
2.0.
No,
it's
it's
worse.
worse than
I'm
Ilhan Omar. It's
I'm
worse
an
than
I'm a
Ilhan Omar.
native
Worse.
I'm a native New Yorker. This if you
people, including Sazagara, which is in the United States, or I don't know, in Europe, or I think it's United States. And he was the first postdoc, the first IRGC member registered as the first one. And after like 10 or 12 years he worked with them, he had so many responsibility of the one of the authorities of them. He fled to the western, and I don't know, I mean, I know still he had connection with them, he worked with them, and he want to be a new president for of course not never in his dream. So that's how they establish it. Then they send these some of these members to Eastern European countries to train them. But one of the countries like Romania found out they're the spies and these kind of people, so they fired them and they got back to the country. They send those IRGC's members to all the universities in Iran, and they just put them in the university and give them the degree. And they put them in a very key responsibility like the universities CEO or other departments, right? The government departments. The rest of them who are from the army, I know for 100% sure because one of them has been killed recently. He was in the Iran Iraq war with my cousin. He was friends with my cousin, and later on he got to the even the minister job. My cousin got killed in the war anyways. He never survived. He's one of those. These people, I swear to God, all of them, their education, they even didn't go over elementary school because they most of them are my age, okay, and they didn't go over elementary school and education level. That's one thing. When they got the authority position, they established the Imam Hussein University, which has been targeted by the Israel recently. You know that, right? They opened that university and they gave them the fake degree of different things or different training, army training. These are not real commander, real general, real army personnel. If something happened, they have the missiles things. These are all they got help from the Russian and Chinese. Okay, the actual and commander who most of all of them have
Gotcha.
been killed are those
All right.
people. So they don't know anything.
Thanks, Baha.
And they ruled. Imagine rule this big
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
Just do the
appreciate
math
it.
yourself. Thank you.
So it's going to be a 2020 Soleimani 2.0, where they're going to fire in an empty base, called up the US, thinking that this is our way out, like we did last time round, and somehow things will die down. We'll get a ceasefire, and we can escape with some kind of face saving that we took on the US. How pathetic are they? They are the most pathetic imbeciles I've ever seen. Indeed. And I just hope the US says, no, an attack is an attack. And if there's no one there, there's no one there. It doesn't matter. It's like, when you try to kill someone, it's still attempted murder, isn't it? You can't say, it's down to the US and the West not to allow them a way out.
I'm back.
I think a lot of people are thinking, and I strongly believe, they're going to try to hit an empty base, 2020 Soleimani style, claim it as a win, do some bullshit pictures, etc., then plead for a ceasefire and hope that they can do a rerun of 2020, get out of it, things will calm down, die down, they save their face. Hopefully the West does not allow them that and doesn't give them that. What do you think, Goldie? The jerks?
Sorry, I'm just getting reconnected. What
So
did I
basically,
miss?
what they're doing is a rerun of Soleimani 2020 2.0, where they're going to try to strike a base empty, would have coordinated it, then claim a win, a victory, look what we did, etc. Then try to plead for a ceasefire, let it die down. I just hope this time round they don't allow it to happen. But I'm not going to repeat
Can
myself.
I
I'm not going to repeat myself for the third time.
No,
can
no.
I throw in something?
I
No,
don't
I'm
think.
joking. I'm joking.
Wait, I don't think that there is anything they can do to survive. I think this regime is dead and gone in the water. And I'm going to tell you, President Trump said the R word yesterday. He said the R word. It's over. It's done. Like,
And Goldie, not just Trump, not just Trump. This is just in. French macaroni has now get. It seems to be suggesting it too.
Did he? The jerk? What did he
Oh
say?
hell, we don't want
Yeah,
him.
yeah. This is just now. So someone asked him, "Hey, what's your opinion about regime change?" He's like, "It must come from the people." So the fact that he's even entertaining the question, or the fact that the question is put to him, seems like the Europeans are getting a line.
listen. I know people, we have a lot of frustration with the government of France from the late 70s. I get that. But where was the King's press conference today? Was it in the UK or was it in France?
It wasn't France.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. So let's not assume that people are just randomly falling in line. This is him and his team working round the clock. One of the questions that he was asked at the press conference today is like, are you speaking with world leaders? What do world leaders think about you? Because we're entering a very, very interesting um, uh, phase of like international law, right? At one point, do sovereign nation states, choose to, um, recognize, let's say, an opposition government or a transitional government as opposed to the one in power? Because, when you look at the basic principles of international law, and, this is just like what I can remember off the top of my head because I'm driving right now, so I can't look anything up. Um, you know, the concept of nation state is sovereign, and Mark, I think you're probably an international law expert too. The concept of nation state is it's one of it's like the fundamental pillar of international law, recognizing the sovereignty of a state. Um, so for states to just like world leaders to start putting the R word out there, that's not an insignificant thing. Um, it's actually a big pillar that it's like a huge threshold, let's say, that needs to be crossed. So I would be interested in knowing exactly what Macron said. And then there's a video clip that I was watching earlier. I'm going to find it. I'll send it to, maybe Hassan, I'll send it to you so that you can play the audio. It's a very informative clip from someone at the FDD. And then he's talking about regime change, and he's talking about the types of support for regime change. And so he distinguishes between two kinds. He says the one kind, and I'm just going to kind of summarize here, paraphrase, I don't know the exact wording he used, but he says like one kind of regime change is like states get involved directly, like boots on the ground, and they make it happen. And those are typically inorganic. They could be problematic, and that's sort of what we've seen in other countries. Even in Syria, like Turkey basically got involved. But he said there's, a different kind of support that states can provide, and that is like nothing, no like domestic support, but they could, make statements or, signal outwardly that, they support this regime change. And he said that kind of support is actually, studies show is more successful. And I think he was alluding to the fact that that's sort of what we're seeing happening with Iran right now. I'll find the clip, Hassan. I'll send it to you. But I'd love to know the actual wording of what Macron said.
Goldie John, can I just jump in real quick? I'm sorry, you guys.
Is it on this topic?
It is not on this topic, but it's really
All right, go
important.
ahead.
Mahir Tusi, that you all know, he's a great reporter based in UK, just posted a very disturbing post. His father is getting threats by IRGC inside the country. So please, you guys, read that post and be careful. We are in a very critical timing right now, and we need to make sure everyone is safe and sound. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you so much, Goldijan.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
that.
Malka.
Breaking
Let's get,
news.
yeah. Go ahead.
Trump is scheduled to meet with his national security team in the White House Situation Room at 1 p.m. in around 40 minutes.
At what time, Johnny?
Mark, what do you think he's going to
Around
be talking about?
40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
Goldie.
eating some hendene.
Clearly, U.S. intelligence, and again, because I trust Jennifer Griffin so much, I mean, her reporting is unmatched in the Pentagon. Uh, Clearly, U.S. intel are sensing a strike as well. I think that Johnny's spot on that this has been telegraphed because Qatar's cutting its airspace, as is the UAE. I would suspect others. I was just going to pull up flight radar to see whether or not that was extending to any other part of the Gulf region. But I believe that it's going to be a maximalist approach. I did reach out to John, my writing colleague, and he believes that the response from a 30-year experience in the U.S. Army is that you then have to completely go up the escalation ladder if the U.S. and make it clear to Iran that you just ended your regime. Because this is not something that you can tolerate, even if this airbase that they're focused on, apparently LDI, I'm not going to say it right, is an airbase that's been essentially emptied out. All the aircraft is gone, non-essential personnel are gone, but nonetheless, you're symbolically attacking the U.S. If you do it. And so, from my perspective, I believe that any kind of actions are probably already baked in. It's just going to be a question of Trump choosing A, B, C, or D in terms of how he wants to respond, how quickly he wants to respond, and what the messaging would be. But if you're Khamenei, you don't want to see the president reacting this way and going to the national, meeting with his national security team, because the last time that he did that, well, he did it subsequently, but one of the times that he did that, you just lost your three of your key nuclear facilities.
So, what do you think they could be like targeting next if they're going and meeting there?
I think at this point, given the progress that Israel has made on the military front, I suspect they would be heavy regime centric type targets. There could be some help that
because of the carrier groups that are in the region. I don't know if the Gerald Ford is there yet, but it's awfully close. But between the Nimitz and the Carl Vinson that are already on station, they could go after targets that are not as easy in eastern Iran military targets. So there could be a little bit of that. But I would expect in this case that the best way to go up that escalation ladder, should the base get attacked, would be regime kind of targets, symbolic targets. Trump may be
Well,
more apt to go
well,
that way. Go
well,
ahead.
Mark, Visegrad is reporting major GPS jamming in the states surrounding the Persian Gulf. So they're amplifying frequent the signals to kind of disrupt GPS systems. It's I guess they're trying to misguide or make it difficult for the regime to identify potential targets.
Yeah, and that could be what's happening. I mean, I know there's been some heavy GPS disruption in general that is generally believed to be happening by the Islamic Republic, but obviously, if it's immense, and it could be, but their transponders are going to be off. It could be that. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm sorry. I'm synthesizing. I'm digesting this in real time. When I'm looking at the level of it, it does look to take that's probably more U.S. military, but it's a lot of it. Hang on a second, I'm seeing another graphic. A lot of that is in around Qatar, and not as much
Do
unexpectedly in
you?
Iran itself. Yeah, sorry,
Well,
I was just having to
so
read that.
if it's around Qatar, couldn't that be the South Fars oil field? The
Well,
South
Mark,
Fars oil field?
if you're looking at Visegrad, Mark, if you look at the red, that suggests that it's concentrated around the UAE.
Right.
They
So
will
this is
they will do probably more than one place because they need to. They think, all right, if we just do a rerun of just one air base in a country, a 2020 style, it's not enough. We need to do it a little bit more. So they might do a couple of locations, fake air bases that are emptied, either
Yeah.
obviously in Qatar and potentially in UAE, just to show that we were really serious and we do mean what we say, and the world to save face. But we
Right.
shall see.
And
this is Fox
there's a
News.
wild card
Fox
here.
News, Fox News. Fox News is saying the strike by the Islamic Republic on U.S. military base in Qatar is imminent.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I wouldn't discount that the U.S. doesn't try to do something preemptive either it or
Oh.
have Israel, if it's got better assets in the area, to do it, based on where those carrier groups are at. But we'll see.
Mark, quick question on that is
Sure.
because the base is located inside of Qatar, or Arya or whoever knows the answer to this. Does Qatar have any obligation to defend the base or no?
Yeah, I think at this point, Qatar is going to try to play it safe. This isn't something the Qataris have wanted to see happen. They've been, obviously,
No, I know
yeah.
that, but I'm just saying, like, okay, so like in general, if you have, let's
Yeah, I
say,
don't know. Are you? Do you know?
yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
aware
know.
of any mutual defense treaty.
So
Right.
legally, no. My understanding, unless there's something that I
And
haven't
that's mine as
seen,
well. But
is no.
yeah,
Okay, I was
But
just
if they
curious.
do
I
hit
literally had
civilian
no idea.
targets, if they do hit civilian targets, Qatar is legally obliged to respond in a certain respect, although they'll downplay it as much as they can. Right? They're allies with Iran. They're not going to get involved.
They won't hit any civilian targets. They'll hit empty bases, empty farmland areas, and be quite pathetic unless they muck it up in terms of what they do with it. We shall see. It's very choreographed. Most of the countries know about it. They might as well give them the exact location of where they're doing it from and the exact coordinates, because this is all. And then the president, that Masood, the cardiologist, has come out saying we didn't start war, we don't want a war, but we have our right to defend ourselves. It's all choreographed. It's such bullshit. I just hope someone says we don't accept it, we don't tolerate it, because this is definitely face saving.
Yeah, but what are they trying? Like, who are they trying to save face to, Johnny? Like the Palestinians, like the ones out in, like, I don't know, in Canada, who have pictures of Khamenei everywhere. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Who are, like, You know what? The only thing,
It's just perception. It's just perception to
yeah,
tell people, plus the people inside Iran, to say, look, well, we did
that's,
that.
yeah,
We did do this. We did that.
yeah. See, I mean, I would think, I guess I would, that makes sense. Like the only reason I can see them even trying to show like that sort of strength and dominance is to control the narrative inside the country, because all communications are down. Like it's very difficult to phone anyone.
Everyone's just fallen off the space, by the way.
Yeah, the space is glitching a little bit, so I have to like I
Have you
need
noticed
to.
it? It's just us two and Hassan and Bahar.
Yeah, everyone dropped, so I'm trying to bring them back up. I think the space is glitchy because there's too many things up top. So for our listeners, if you can, please, 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 just like maybe put a comment in the purple pill below, and maybe like and retweet the space. I'm gonna try to clear out the purple, sorry, the nest above, and that usually can help as well. But yeah, it seems like everyone just sort of fell.
I'm still here,
Bahar is
Goldie.
still here. Okay, Bahar didn't.
And
Bahar.
Hassan's still there. I think Hassan wanted to chime in. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
And, yeah, go for
Mark
it.
asked me to let you know he was dropped. I think all speakers were kicked. I've had the space crash on me on the app and on my phone like 5 or 6 times so far in the last hour. So just letting you know he's trying to get back up. Sorry.
Okay, all good. I'm gonna remove some stuff from the nest above, and hopefully that will help stabilize the space. Because there's like,
No, Johnny, you see, these strikes on the Qatar basis for the US. Okay, this is literally as Goldie as yourself said. Okay, this is just perception. Okay, it was on that on Iranian TV today. Okay, the guy was talking to a reporter. Okay, and said the latest attack that we did on Israel, we have killed 500 people, thousand people injured. That was within half an hour of a strike. How exactly got that from that exact number? Okay, from a strike that they have done, and they have reported that no one else has reported it, i.e. they have gone there themselves. And this is all about perception. And actually this time around it makes zero difference, because unlike the time when Soleimani was killed, okay, Israel wasn't involved. Israel now has given blood, has paid blood. They have been attacked, they have basically lost lives, and they have given blood. So Israel is not going to back down just because US went, okay, you can hit two of my bases. And actually, honestly, from the control of the airspace that Israel has at the moment has, okay, this is all nonsense, because what's going to happen is very simple. Israel is going to continue bombard every single IRGC space and Basiji basically army bases, and they are not going to stop. Okay, so guess what? This is just another empty threat from the Islamic regime. They're just trying to say, look how good we are. We are winning this war that everybody in the world, apart from most probably the Houthis, haven't realized that yet. Maybe because they just don't understand the basic English. Okay, is that this is just a lost cause now. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually what I'm hoping from Trump to come out of his meeting to say is to turn around and tell the Islamic regime that send the missile that I'll level your entire country, because that's what I really want from Trump. Say, I'm not even going to give you a chance to lose save face now. I'm just going to make you lose face.
Yeah,
That
that's
would
what
be
they
the
should do,
ultimate.
Hassan. And I think they should just take it out before they're allowed to this time round. I
Yeah,
think Israel should just take it out. Don't allow them that, even
absolutely.
that face saving thing or whatever. They shouldn't just sit by. They should just say, no, you're not having that exit. No.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the right move right now for basically if you want to really destroy the Islamic Republic image, is that the moment they launch, just shoot it down. There you go. You're not doing
yeah,
anything.
you're assuming that they even have that kind of technology. I mean, I don't know if they have that. I mean, we know
Listen,
we know Israel's a superpower, but I don't know if they have that kind of technology. But I mean, you never know; they might.
but actually, to be honest with you, as what someone said, I'm more worried about some poor soul walking down to the shops that's only going to get the missiles going to get dropped on his head. Okay, they have done more damage to civilian population than actually to anywhere else. Okay,
Yeah,
what was it?
Yeah,
550 missiles, 25 missiles landed. That's even it's about 5%.
That's not even 5% yet.
You
So,
know,
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
Goldie
yeah. And
Al-Hada?
I would remind people, though, that there is U.S. law and international law where there is a duty to inform, under the Geneva Convention. So the U.S. just can't target a civilian area, for instance. It's got to have a legitimate military purpose. You have to weigh how many people might die that are civilians compared to, the intent of the military action itself and why you're doing it. So there's a delicate balance there. Israel so far, even if you use the Hamas numbers, which no one should rely on,
no,
they've
he
kept that
was
ratio
no,
to
no,
one to
no.
one.
Hassan was referring to the IRGC missiles hitting Iranians because they don't
Oh, I
work.
apologize. Okay, I apologize. I was
No,
saying right. My
no,
apologies.
no, no.
I was
The
thinking people like,
Oh,
yeah,
oh, I
just
have to. Reuters. Explosions heard in the sky of Qatari capital. It's happening.
whoa.
that's pretty big news then.
Whoa.
They could be air
Yeah, but
defenses. I'm not quite sure.
explosions, it doesn't mean that much.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the missiles have reached the skies of Qatar.
So they're allowing them to. They could have taken them out when they took the launchers out, unless they were hiding it very, very well.
All right. Here's a guy that I trust heavily, Barik Ravid, the Axios reporter who also reports for. He's reporting that Israeli officials tell him Iran launched 6 missiles toward the U.S. bases in Qatar. So, I mean, in the scheme of things, if it's just 6, that's small, but symbolic. But now we're in a situation where Trump says is one too many. Iran clearly, if you're just sending 6, probably hopes that it isn't. But in my mind, Trump's got to respond. He can't. He'd be losing face himself. He'd be losing negotiating power. He's called
But
for
they
this
didn't
regime's
last time.
unconditional
They
surrender.
didn't last time because that was coordinated for it to die down. I just this
Yeah,
time
and,
round
and
is
there could be
different.
this could exactly, Johnny. This could be kabuki theater. It could be all arranged. I just think this is different, though. I mean, before with this was before the U.S. was involved, and now the U.S. has skin in the game. So I think that changes the dynamic. Trump would have a hard time explaining why, he allowed a U.S. base to get attacked after entering into the war, after calling for unconditional surrender, after hinting at regime change. That's an awfully hard bridge to walk back on. But time will tell. I don't have a crystal ball.
I also think
And
one of
Mark
the
Mullen, who is a Republican senator, said U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded that the Islamic Republic did not move nuclear materials from Fordo before it was struck. I don't know if you caught that.
so that
Am I
means all the
audible?
nuclear stuff was destroyed.
If the U.S. intelligence is correct, then yes, that's what happened. Fordo is gone, and so is the nuclear material contained at the facility.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the fissile material, I would caution. Let's wait till we physically know, because the risk of Iran having 60% enriched uranium is too great. There's too many uses for it, and including getting to the 90% weapons grade. So I'm in the show me state. I'm actually about an hour and a half from where those B2s launched from. So we are known as the show me state, and it's like show me the. And I'm not doubting you, by the way. I just want to see proof, right? It's just too big of a factor here that we need to know that all of that fissile material is either destroyed or retrieved, one or the other.
And Reuters is reporting more explosions
Well,
over skies.
don't forget to also check the comments because we have a lot of very we actually have a fantastic audience here. A lot of very very active and engaged listeners, and they're constantly like posting updates in the comments below. I can't check them right now because I'm driving, but I mean there might be something there that we've missed as well. So don't forget to check the comments, and also thank you to the listeners for being participating in this. It really helps us out as well.
Okay,
I'll
breaking
go.
news.
I'll go through them.
Breaking
I'll go
news.
through them. Quickly.
There's missiles launches at US bases in Iraq. I knew it'd be more than one country this time.
Let's see
Wow.
UAE.
I have some other news on that also, if I could jump in for just one
Yeah, of
second.
course.
Several oil companies evacuated all foreign employees. The Iraqi National Basra Oil Company announced on Monday that BP, INI, and Total Energies have begun evacuating foreign personnel from Iraqi oil fields where they operate. So I do assume that they are starting to think that there may actually be some sort of ground action or rockets falling or targeting of such facilities if they're moving them out, because in previous similar flare-ups, they haven't normally moved them out. I know there's been a few exceptions from certain companies, but this is much more than has been done in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised to start. They have started targeting U.S. bases in Iraq, and if they are, the question is are they going to do all of their reprisal attacks at once, right, leaving aside any potential terrorism, or are they going to do it as a slow drip, right? They'll attack as we know Qatar, right? The base in Qatar right now, and then Iraq in an hour, and then a different base in 2 3 hours or 5 6 hours. So as Mark said with the nuclear material, and it's great news that they're saying that it was not taken out of the country, because that was the reason I originally raised my hand, was I wanted to remind people to be very, very aware that if that was transported to Russia, the Russian government will happily let them set up facilities there, right? They built their nuclear facilities, they trained all their scientists, they've given them the technology to do this. So if it had gotten out of the country, that's potentially a bigger threat than it's staying in some other bunker in Iran, right? So the fact it was potentially hit is great news. And I think Mark is right. And I know I fail to do this quite often, but with stuff like this, it's important to wait until we have enough evidence, because there's constantly stuff being retracted. And even the best OSINT and security analysts and stuff are going to get things wrong. Thank you very much, Goldie. If you need to drop me, feel free. And people, please retweet her space. It is the best way you can, get the message out there and help spread what is going on. Because even though it's at the top of the spaces, most people, when they go on Twitter, don't look, right? And it doesn't show up for everybody of your followers. So there is a severe amount of restricting of how much we are able to spread this. So please, even if you're not able to listen and you see she's up and broadcasting, please retweet it. It's very
Yeah,
important. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, Arya.
that's
Arya,
great, Arya.
I
And I
just,
just pinned. I'm sorry, I pinned some video
okay.
of the THAADs, which is a system an air defense system that the U.S. has in Qatar. So people want to look at the comments.
Thanks. I just wanted to say, Arya, no, please stay up, because we need someone with the military expertise. Because if I want to try to explain things, I'll just be like the boom booms and the pew pews and the Q Qs went boom. So I have no idea about military terminology.
Well, Goldie,
Um,
that's how the mullahs explain it.
Zirt. No, the mullahs are like, "Salla Allah satirke." Okay, can someone find that video of that, like, the lady? You know what I'm talking about? The one who was like, oh my gosh, I have to explain this. Like, this is how stupid Islamic regime people and their supporters are. Video was from, like, I don't know, a few months ago. I think maybe when President Trump got elected. I don't know. And then there's like this bunch of like old women. You know how the mullahs look so ugly and inbred? The Ayatollahs. Their women are just as disgusting looking. So think of like the same thing but without a beard. And then this one woman was like, protesting against, President Trump. And then she like says something in, like, I don't know, Arabic. I think it's like a quote from the Quran or something. So she's like, "Salla Allah satirke," and then she's like, "Chishme taraf beterke," which is like, I hope Trump's eyes blow out. It's like the weirdest protest, and it turned into like a meme, and we were all like laughing, and then like someone made a song out of it. But I mean, like, this is the kind of low IQ level that we're dealing with. And I think you as Americans and, Israelis and non-Iranians have to get that, have to understand that you're not dealing with a rational actor. You're literally dealing with a suicidal jihadi death cult, that is like, zero IQ whatsoever, not a rational actor. Mark, what do you think President Trump is going to hit as sort of like a retaliation? What do you see as some of the assets here?
Yeah, if he retaliates, again, I think he's going to go after regime targets at this point, because and again, look, he may go after ancillary military targets, but Iran has been doing a good job of that. I think at this
So what would
point,
be like a regime target?
yeah, I doubt he still goes after Khomeini's bunker if they know exactly where he is, because it is illegal in the U.S. to take out a leader. It doesn't mean he won't do it. won't come up with some
Listen,
rationale that there's
we want him
other military
alive.
activity happening there.
Mark,
Right,
we want him
exactly.
alive because we're going to do the Iranian version of the Nuremberg trials.
Right.
They're going to be
I, I,
bigger.
I mean, what he may try to do to collapse it, and again, I'm just speculating here because there's so many different directions that he could go, and it's just too early to know. But he could attack power grids, he could attack water supply. I don't think he wants to create a humanitarian crisis though, because the U.S. doesn't have any really good options right now in a city the size of Tehran to solve that. That would be one way though of creating regime pain where you create this crisis. I don't think he plays that. But if you're asking for the list of options of what he
Yeah.
could do, so I think it'd be more symbolic. I think
So
again,
I could tell you from the food supply thing, like the economy is shut down, so people are having difficulty like buying food
right,
anyway. So I mean, there's really there would be no impact there because
right.
all the stores are closed and everything. If I was brainstorming, and I'd be, love to hear from some of the Iranians here too. If I was brainstorming and I wanted to be like, like what things should I target in terms of retaliation? I see Alex might have some ideas. I would go after um, like the judiciary for sure. Like I would just go after all the mullahs, every single freaking mullah. I would go after them. I would go after the mullahs who do like the like Imam Jomeh. Like someone can translate this in English. Like every city has like a main mullah that does like the Friday prayers or something. Just like go after them because those are the people who every Friday, literally in their Friday prayers, they chant like "Death to America." They say America is the great Satan. Those are like the you know core
Ayatollahs,
regime. Yeah,
ayatollahs.
the all the ayatollahs. Yeah, like Imam Jomedige, those people. They're like the core regime apparatus in each city. So I would go after that and exterminate them. That would be a huge symbolic blow. I mean, if there's no military assets left, just my 2 cents on that. But I want to hear from Alex because I guess this you got excited about this question. Oh, sorry. Khalid, did you? Okay, we'll go to Khalid because she
Yeah,
had her hand up for a while, and then we'll go to Alex.
thank you so much. Goldie, thank you so much. And also, Jenny, for all the great work you've been doing for this last, at least, for 2 years. I know you. And just bringing too much awareness to to the community, international community, or even Iranian communities. And managing, in fact, the narrative to make sure it's not going to be, affected by the ill in form of the unholy alliance of the red and black. However, I had a question and I wanted to bring the attention to that. Today, Arakchi met Putin and Putin refused to help them. And I just wonder whether that attack to Qatar or Iraq got something to do with this disappointment they had with the Putin. Putin literally, he turned the face on them and he said that I wish we were in the better situation, or just prayers rather
Sorry,
than.
so Hale, if I understand, what you're saying is that Arokci asked if he could escape to Russia, and Putin said no. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Because
apparently
I don't,
she.
because like, what do you mean when you said Arokci asked if Russia could have them, and Putin said no? What do you mean by have them?
They
Like,
had They had the meeting today, and he was delivering a proposal from whether supreme leader or whether whoever it is. And we know that Iraq is the closest, at least, it is. This is
so it was,
what I heard.
so it was so it was basically a negotiation to see if
Absolutely.
Russia would take in the escaping family members.
Whatever it is the deal, I don't know. Whatever it is
Okay.
the proposal, I don't know. But it can be. It looks like Trump is controlling everything, and he managed to create a coalition against the regime. There is something here, and I think I feel and I got it. Also, I received that comment from the someone who is kind of analysis and a specialty in that field. He said that, but he predicted he's gonna, is gonna something happen after they rejected Arakchi proposal, whatever it was. We don't know. There is a possibility if that was about, giving them a shelter or, accepting the refugee in Russia. So I'm just, I thought, to keeping in your mind is whether it's kind of is retaliation or it's disappointment because of the what happened in Russia. If kind of, it looks like, they don't have any way out of this mess, so they could, kind of uh, kind of, do crazy things, to make to take themselves, out of this situation. That's all. Just I would like, to see that,
Let me
whether
just
that. That's all.
sorry, Hale, let me just throw in this
Thank
quickly.
you.
So, they launched at Qatar, Iraq, Bahrain, and Kuwait. That's 4 countries targeted.
Yeah, so what they're trying to show and what they're trying to do, I think, is say, look, this could really spill over and we could do much more of this, but we're trying to be nice this time. So we've told everyone in advance, so there's no real casualties. We're going to hit empty bases or whatever, unless we muck up. But should this war carry on, then, well, don't know. It could get very ugly, etc. So maybe we should all have a ceasefire.
Let this be a lesson to those who think they can tame or negotiate with Islamists. This is what happens when they are cornered, and they will be cornered because they have to be cornered.
And you know something? There's no difference between the only difference, let me put it this way, the only difference between the Islamic regime, I'll get to Alex right after. The only difference between the Islamic regime and those crazy Islamists that you see in the streets that yell Allahu Akbar and, for Palestine, the only difference is that the Islamic regime has access to weapons and unlimited amounts of cash, and the ones on the
I
streets
have
don't.
breaking. I
Uh,
Goldie,
okay,
I'm sorry to
go,
interrupt you.
go. And then Alex.
U.S. jets are scrambling over Saudi Arabia right now. There are sirens in Saudi Arabia.
All right.
Saudi
Okay.
Arabia.
Oh
All right.
my
Hold on.
Whoa.
Hold on
God.
a second.
News.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia. That I think is a bit of a game changer. I think if they've hit Saudi, if they try to aim at Saudi, if
Sorry,
this
did
is the
they?
case.
I didn't catch what Arya said. Did they hit, or is it
No,
just like
sorry.
flying over? Like what's going on?
Sirens are going off at the U.S. bases in Saudi Arabia, according to multiple
Oh,
Saudi
sirens.
journalists
Okay.
and multiple OSINT groups and reporters. It's possible it's fake, but there's enough real people that are actually reporting it where I imagine it's true, especially considering the amount of other places that were hit. But till it's 100% confirmed, like any of the news that's being reported as breaking by any of us, please take with a little bit of salt.
If it is Saudi that they try to strike, not hit. So I genuinely think they've come to the calculus that our only option is to go down the lines of regional escalation if should this carry on. Hence why they've hit so many Finns. Well, not hit. They've tried to do their missile attacks on so many different places, but yet highly coordinated. They want the cake and eat it. They don't want any casualties. Certainly don't want to hear any foreign nationals, especially US, while at the same time trying to show their teeth, save their face, and also say, well, this could get very ugly with the regional escalation. We should lose our shit, you know, if there's not a ceasefire. Or Harmony is ready for the final battle of martyrdom and has decided that we must have war. Because remember, Khomeini said that war was a blessing with the Iran-Iraq war, was a blessing that helped to consolidate the power of the Islamic Republic back then.
Well, let's see. Alex, I know you wanted to share something. Go ahead. Sorry for making you wait.
Well, thank you so much, Golden John. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Um, I said this many times and I say it again. I think we're going to have a nuke explosion in Tehran. It's going to kill over 9 million people. We're going to have earthquake. We're going to have a lot of craziness is going in Tehran. From what I know, being in Evin and, being tortured every time, I have been hearing this, from the IRGC people. If we're gonna go down, guess what? We're gonna take the whole country down with us. This is what they believe, and this is what they're gonna do because they are not Persian, they are not Iranian, they don't care about Iran. They are ideologies, they are Islamists. They truly believe they truly believe death to America. They truly believe death to Israel. Now, give them the nuke weapon and see what's going to happen. So this is what I think. I'm looking at Channel 14, Israel Channel 14, and I see the sirens going off in Saudi Arabia as well. I have question for Mark. My question to Mark is, last night I was listening to the space. Goldie was part of it, and I see a lot of American are very like they are resisting. They are very pissed and mad that why we in Iranians are strongly believe that the Khomeini was installed by Jimmy Carter by the American by the support of American in Iran. That's one part. The other part, we strongly believe that Ayatollah Hossein Obama gave the money to Khomeini to build all this nuke weapon. We strongly believe Democrat helped the Ayatollahs in Iran to create all this mess. Lastly, we are being attacked. Like what we are seeing, a lot of Americans are saying that why the Iranians are so pro monarchies and they do not like the American democracy the way that we do have it um, here in America. What is your response to that? Thank you.
Yeah, let me start with some breaking news first there. This is wider than we initially thought. There's reports in Bahrain and Kuwait, in addition to Qatar and Iraq, where there are missiles in the air. The Islamic Republic state media, IRIB, says, and they're calling this Operation Basharat el Fath, has begun against U.S. bases. So, they're attacking in multiple directions. Sorry, my German Shepherd's trying to attack too here, or defend, I should say. Um, so just FYI, the scale of this is bigger. Again, the numbers of missiles being fired seem smaller, so I still think Iraq, I'm sorry, the Islamic Republic thinks of this as being somewhat symbolic, but I really doubt the U.S. is going to interpret that way, but time will tell. In terms of your questions, um, from an American perspective, I would think the vast majority of Americans do not perceive that Jimmy Carter aided and abetted the fall of, and again, I want to get into that. I'm just letting you know what Americans perceive. And I don't know that it makes sense to go down that path because it's such ancient history and it's irrelevant at this point. I mean, and I appreciate your question. I'm not trying to be dismissive of it, but that's something that, for instance, if I were to try to write an article about, um, nobody's going to read it. It's just too much of old news, from a narrative standpoint. And I even doubt my editors would be going like, why are you trying to go there when the hot story is, can there be regime change? Can you do it? So, and I'm not a political expert, so. Um, or domestic U.S. political expert, to the extent that there are Americans that may push back against the monarchy. Look, we are a republic, obviously, right? Even my own ancestor fought in the Revolutionary War. So Americans, just in general, their DNA is not going to be supportive in general of a monarchy when they hear that, because it's just opposite of what our own nation's history is. So I don't know if it's worth wasting that much bandwidth either. I'd keep it more focused on what the Iranian people want, and if they want a constitutional monarchy, just like what the UK has, all that's good, right? I'd keep it focused on there. But to try to convince the American people to believe in a system of government that's just opposite what our own structure is probably too heavy of a lift. In terms of Americans who don't support any action, I think that's just the libertarian isolationism base that have always been that way. They don't want their sons dying in a war, is what they fear. So, but again, I mean, while they're all valid questions, I really do think at this point we just need to be forward thinking. We need to be looking at how best, and that's why when I first got on and was talking with Goldie, that I was kind of arguing. I think it's powerful the messaging, the idea that the Iranian people themselves in a post-Islamic regime would be the ones that in effect crown Pahlavi. I'm messing up again. Pahlavi king is something that would resonate with the American people. That hey, this is something that the Iranians have chosen for themselves, and we'll respect that. But that's my best answer for you. Sorry if I didn't quite get to where you wanted to. I'm just not a domestic political expert here.
Thank you, Mark. No, just, because last night, someone was attacking Goldie, and I think she replied, fantastic. You
Yeah,
know,
but that
I,
woon was apparently a troublemaker and
yeah,
like
it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
attacked
terrible.
everyone.
I
So
Right,
hated it. Two
and
people.
let me be careful. Because I grew up with many Canadians. As a in my
I'm
junior high and high
sorry
school
about that.
years. Yeah, there you go. So look, I fully respect. Yeah, and I'll go on record here. No, I do not believe Canada should be the 51st state. Okay, Canada is a sovereign country with a rich history, and well capable of governing themselves. Now, they may have political disagreements from time to time about which way they want to govern themselves, but that's up to Canada to do. And, I respect it. And I'll say the same thing. It's completely up to Goldie as someone that's born in Iran to decide for herself what she thinks is best. It would be the best approach for the Iranian people. I can't offer that suggestion. I don't know what is best. I don't have enough context on the ground. I don't know enough about what the people want. But it does seem to me, given how quickly this is all coming together, that there's only one well-known figure. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, that the Iranians could rally around in opposition to Khamenei and his regime, and that's the Crown Prince. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And he's saying all the right things, right? If he were coming out and saying, no, we're going to establish a dictatorial monarchy, and no, that people are never going to have a say, and I'm going to rule by dictator, and I'm going to set up secret police, all of that kind of stuff. If he was saying that, my opinion here would be very different, but he's not. He's saying all the right things. And I think he's genuine in that belief that, look, Iran has been living for 46 years under a bloodthirsty regime. It's time for a change. It's time to step back into modernity, away from this nightmare years that the Islamic regime has imposed on Iranians, and be part of a vibrant future of the Near East and Middle East. But that's my sense. Goldie, I'll flip it back to you or to Johnny.
yeah, sure. So I mean, just really quickly on that, the king has said there's a time and place to have these discussions and have these conversations. Um, and whether or not to call him king or not. I would say when you're in American space, because there's a lot of people who are going to be looking now and paying attention, and they're going to be asking that question. The best way to answer is to just say what he says. He said in an interview. He said, "Look, I don't need a title to have the trust of my people. I have the trust of my people as an ordinary person. They have put their trust in me to lead them through a transitional period and get to a point where the people themselves can determine what sort of government they want at the ballot box. And that government, it's going to be a secular democracy, and it's going to be based on three pillars. The first one is territorial integrity of the country. Number two is secular democracy, separation of church and state. And number three is recognition and adherence to all human rights. And the people themselves will determine what sort of democracy they want, as long as it fits within that criteria. That's it. That's it. You don't have to go into king with nothing else, because at that point, when we get to the ballot, it's no one else's business what we're doing. That's going to be an internal campaign. But right now, the best way we can help with his legitimacy is just say he doesn't need a title, and he said it himself in Fox News.
And if I could
I hope
just,
Yeah,
that
no,
answers.
if I
and that
could,
helps a lot because if I could say something real quick here, even if I tried to write, and again, it's not my position to take, right? It's up for the Iranian people to decide whether he's a king, a crown prince, whatever, right? It's not mine. But even if I tried to write that, say that was my view, that he should be king, etc., I couldn't write that. The editors wouldn't allow it at any of the papers that I write for, at least here in the United States. They would still change it and say that he's the crown prince. So just FYI, So for people trying to make that argument, and I understand why they may be upset, but understand that it's just kind of it's a fight that you're not going to win. So pick a better battle than that one, because there's much more important stuff to be doing, and I think you'll win the war. Right? It's just a battle that you're not going to win, and
Well,
so
Mark,
just yeah.
this is just my opinion. It's food for thought. If people can stomach a country like Monaco or Japan, I think if we could, what's the juxtapose Iran and these two very successful countries within.
Daddy, Daddy, but we don't even need to convince people of that.
Yeah,
That's even the king has said. Even the king, like if you go back and you listen to his interview, it was a Fox News interview. I've played it here, but I'm happy to play it again. Don't get academic with this. Don't get academic. Like this is the time right now to stick to the message. And I'm saying this as someone, with political experience, with media experience. If you get into the weeds, you're going to lose people. It's very, very simple. It's very simple. He has said he doesn't need a title. He already has the trust of the people because they've been calling his name, and his only role here, and he's not coming in to seek power. His only role here is to act as a transitional leader, to have a transitional government in place. He has a plan for the first 100 days, and his role is basically to ensure that people get to the ballot box, and then the people themselves will determine at the ballot box. He doesn't go into constitutional monarchy. He doesn't even touch the word constitutional monarchy or republic or nothing like that. So that's the only thing we need to say, because what people care more about is whether or not Iran is going to be a democracy. And we can answer that question. Yes, Iran will be a democracy, and it's going to be based on these three pillars, and we just go
hey,
through it. we,
I'm
we
sorry.
don't need to do
If
anything
I could
else.
add one more point, and maybe this would help. I have homes in L.A., Chicago, St. Louis, and then I spend a lot of time in Washington D.C. Presently, I'm in the St. Louis area. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I went out to lunch with my brother at a pasta place. It was slow, and there were 8 people in the kitchen area. So, as I usually try to do, because it's very easy for someone like me to get in a bubble, thinking, okay, this is what I'm hearing from Washington. My sources there. This is what the country must be thinking. And I asked them, how many of you guys have talked about? And this was, the day of the strike, right? How many of you guys have been talking about Iran or Ukraine? They're all in their 20s and 30s, blank faces. So the average American is not paying attention to this, is the point I'm trying to make. And so when you want to communicate to them and you want to get your messaging through, and I'm saying this from a media standpoint, but this is not so different than what Goldie, as a politician, probably went through the same calculus. As right as you might be on a point, is it increasing your poll numbers? Is it increasing the number of people that'll vote for you? Are you talking about something that just they can't relate to? And so that's all I'm trying. I'm not knocking anyone's argument, anyone's view of what. Yeah,
No, Mark, it's an excellent point, because what I mean, it's going to be difficult for non-Iranians to relate to what we're going through. So we need to provide it into bite-sized pieces and chunks. All right, I got to go for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. Hassan, can you take over? Or do
and
you want
Yeah,
me
and,
to
sure,
and
go?
I
no
need
worries.
to
I think
leave. I'm going to leave too for about. You can kick me out if you need to for speakers, but I've got to go for about 10 minutes so I can try to do some source. I need to try to figure out what's going on actually in terms of the U.S. response. So I'd like to leave you on so I can hear you, but if you need the space, Johnny, just kick me. So.
it's okay, Mark. No, you can stay up. It's perfectly fine. I think we got people in. Let's go to hands. I think Scorpio, you had your hands up for a while, and then we can go to Pahlavi.
Hi, I'm from America. I want to say don't believe anything the news is saying, the fake news. Even Trump on his Truth Social a few days ago said the Washington Post has no idea on what I believe is going on in Iran. So he's trying to basically our media is in the dark. I think Congress is in the dark as well. I think it's very important for Americans to understand that President Carter was involved in overthrowing the rightful government, because majority of Americans just think, oh, we're defending Israel, and I don't think that's the truth. I think Americans need to realize, okay, not only were we involved in that, but Obama gave Iran 180 billion dollars. Um, as far as the nuclear sites, and I put it down in the bubble. This is from Truth Social. I don't know if you guys can get it or not. Um, but he wrote, "We have completely completed our very successful attack on the three nuclear sites in Iran. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention." And then he wrote something, let me try to get it, that if Iran tries to, okay, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald Trump, President of the United States. When Mark, when you said he can't take out the leader because it's against the laws, he doesn't need Congress's approval for self-defense. So the moment that they do attempt to hit one of our bases, he will take out the leader. Absolutely. And that's why he was letting the leader know, I know where you are. You're safe for now. And he doesn't need Congress to approve it at all. In my opinion, our military was the only ones that could take out the nuclear bunkers, and that's what Trump. Um, that's basically what he wanted to do while Israel fights the war. I'm also very excited about the Iranians being freed. I'm happy for you guys. Make Iran great again. Um, and I do think that we have to make it right. We were involved in 46 years of basic terror in your country, and it's the only right thing to do. I think Trump also does not want any civilians hurt, so they're being strategic. As far as all these missile attacks, I think Qatar is, in one way, is going to protect the bases from being hit. We have the biggest base in Qatar, and not only that, we just signed a deal with them, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. So I think it's against their interests to not protect our embassies there. But yeah, just beware of fake news. I'm glad you guys are here because I'm learning just being a listener, and I'll end with that.
Well, Qatar reported that the missiles were intercepted and no one's been hurt.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. And I think that's the main thing. You see, Scorpio, I think you nailed it on the head. Okay, I think there is a narrative that the right narrative that needs to be sent, okay, to especially to our friends, the American population, that look, there's no one in Iran, like, and I think I can safely say that for almost every Iranian here, okay, there's no one in Iran or anyone in here that wants a single American soldier to set foot in Iran's soil. We don't want that. We don't want anyone. We want your support. We want your backing. We need your voice. Okay, and that's to be honest with, that's far more important than boots on on the ground. Okay, so as long as the support is there, that's all it matters. But thank you very much for coming up. Thank you very much for what you said, and I'm glad that Qatar has managed to shoot these down, because yeah, it is to their interest, as Danny said. Okay, so thank you very much for that. We got Khaled, if you can hold on for a couple of minutes. We got Pahlavi and Arya before. That had their hands up for a while, and then Malka, and then I can get back to you. So do apologize. Just stay with us, Khaled, for a couple of more minutes. Pahlavi, you had your hands up. Please go ahead.
Hi, I just want to say I wish there was enough journalists out in the West to debunk all the lies that they told the West generation in universities and school about our Shah, and all the things that they said good thing about evil KGB Mossadegh. So this is why we need to emphasize on Guadalupe conference January 4th to 7, and what happened, what decision, and why Iran right now, and why Iran Islamic Republic is threatening the world. The one big mistake of the few head leaders had led to this, and this is why we Iranians stand with Trump and we support him, and this is why we are scared for the midterm, and this is why republic doesn't work for a country that's ancient, that's Iran, because every 4 year, every 2 year term, you have to panic that you're going to lose the good president and another bad one, another Democrat will come and undo every good thing that this president has done. And Iranians don't have enough heart, enough energy, enough medication for the heart attack they'll get if there's changes every 4 years. But I guess we have lots of brain drain, lots of doctors move to America, and you guys are great with it. Just have the republic and keep electing. But now I hear in English spaces they're all panicking for midterm and so on, rhinos and all these things. So this is what we want to avoid as Iranian. Yes, we want constitution. I can't even say the word right now, monarchy, because we believe in our leader, we believe in our Shah, we believe in their family. They were loyal, even though when the whole media, the entire planet media turned their back against them, they just stayed silent and slowly worked their way to guide us Iranians. From young and old, everybody loves this king. From 5 year old, the clips we see from Iran and from these elderlies in their personal dialect, they haven't like they have deep dialect, and then they say, "Oh, Fadayat Shaban Pahlavi," is like there. I will dive to see Pahlavi one more time again. So this is where we are right now. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. Go ahead, Khaled. So what's happening in Qatar, Khaled? To Masar.
Hi, folks. Sorry, I hope you can hear me. I'm just out. Yes, so yesterday we had said that, the move saying Parliament has approved the closing off of the Strait of Hormuz is essentially a bluff. That it was most likely, they're basically saying, look, we could do this if you don't, let us survive, essentially. And, it was a bargain. Now they have seen that today Israel's response was to pretty much, attack the prison. I think it's called Evin Prison, if I'm not mistaken. Goldie can correct me, and Johnny as well, probably. So they attacked the prison, which is essentially saying, look, we're going to get the political prisoners out. They have attacked IRGC locations in a way that is basically unprecedented. Israel has never done this since the start of the war on 13th of June. So they realized, well, hold on a moment, Israel's basically saying, no, 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 we're not bluffing. You might be bluffing because you're closing off the Strait of Hormuz to buy more time, but we're not bluffing. We're actually coming for the kill here. So they responded with this. This was essentially their only remaining option. They could not have done anything else. And attacking US bases, I think, is still actually relatively restrained because they could have tried to close off the Strait of Hormuz as they have threatened. Now, will they go for this? I think most likely they will try because they know now there is no point. No one is bluffing in this game. The Israelis are going for the kill. They want to kill and entirely eliminate this regime. And the more they realize this, the more they realize, hold on a moment, we need to go, all in. But I think they're realizing this a bit too late. The US's allies in Arab countries, they know and they're expecting this, and the US is prepared. And now we've also seen China saying, if you try to close off the Strait of Hormuz, we're warning you, do not do this. So they realize that the energies are limited. We're essentially dealing with a regime that is collapsing, which is the regime. Strategically, all these are symptoms of a regime that's collapsing, of a regime that was hoping that the US and Israel would be bluffing and allow it to survive. But they're realizing, hold on a moment, no, that's not the case. They're actually going to kill us. So they're responding a bit too late. And what they're doing now is essentially a final few kicks before they pretty much collapse. So it's good news all over. This is progressing the way I had hoped it would progress. Yeah, thanks. I'll give that back to my two guys.
Thank you, Khaled. And I think the last part is spot on. This is a retaliation that has come way too late for the Islamic regime. I think this is now gone to a point that they know they're on their way out, and really, really, they're desperate to do any move, anything that allows them to remain in power a bit longer. Okay, so yeah, this is just a symbolic attack which has absolutely no meaning whatsoever to the outcome of the situation, and the outcome is that they're on the way out, and Iran will be free of the Islamic regime.
Well,
So thank you very much.
Hassan,
Yes, yes, Benjamin.
Hassan, they know very well that Iranians will tear them apart, flesh and bone, torn and broken apart. So they will. What else is there to do? Either they meet their fate now, or throw a, hail mary, as they say in the United States, to anything, whatever, because there's nothing. They know that their fate is going to be terrifying, and it will be, rightfully so.
And rightfully so. Absolutely, absolutely. You're right. You're right. I can't disagree with you on that one, on that front at all. You're 100% correct. This is a desperate move of, and I think sooner or later they're all going to start leaving anyway. After today's attack on the IRGC base in Tehran, which reported about between 700 and 1,000 casualties, they're outmatched and outgunned, and they have no hope in hell of surviving. So comes down to a point of how much damage they will do before they leave. But they will leave one way or another. But yeah, it's not going to happen. Arya, you had your hands up for a very long time. Do apologize. Please go ahead.
Thank you, man. There's nothing to apologize for. If it was something pressing, I jump in. Happy to wait. Some very good points were brought up, and it's far more interesting to me to listen than to talk. I'm only going to jump in if I think there's actually something to add. Um, uh, there have been reports on the amount of rockets Iran fired. Uh, as with everything from Iranian state media, take with all the sea salt in the Mediterranean and the Dead Sea. But they claimed they fired a missile for every one the U.S. did, right? So that's 44 to 45 missiles that they would have fired, assuming that that is actually correct. The second thing is I want to go back for 1 second before we continue to what Mark and Goldie were talking about talking to Americans and people who are not familiar with Iran, right? I want to reaffirm what they said. Please do not get stuck in the weeds about talking about the king or other random bits. Talk to people about what directly affects them, right? You can talk all day to people about how many people the IRGC has butchered and killed and how horrible they are, and people will say how bad it is and then go back to eating their supper. If you explain to them how it directly affects them, how this is directly tied to their personal security, on top of the values they claim to espouse, it will have a much more direct effect, right? And the same is true with any other similar conflict, right? And I've seen this repeatedly when I try to talk to people on the right wing or the left wing about Ukraine or Israel or something. I'm going to use very different talking points. Not that any of them are any less true or important, but because people are geared towards things that cause them to emotionally feel a response, right? Or they have a direct investment with. There is so much suffering in the world that otherwise people tend to block it out. And that's even more true today when we live in a society where people disproportionately spend money to ignore reality, right? And to not have to deal with these types of pain and suffering. So I just urge people when you're talking to people, when you're getting into a conversation on why this is important, it's not productive to talk about what's going to happen to Iran after, as far as whether it's going to be a constitutional, monarchy or republic or a whatever, right? That doesn't help. Or talking about, how bad they've been, towards gays or minority groups or stuff. Most people don't care. They'll say how bad it is. They'll go back to eating their dinner. But if you explain to them directly how it's going to impact them, it will. Thank you.
if I can reply to you very quickly, Arya, the other side of the coin is that people believe that the Shah was terrible to people. So we also have to address that part, and that is why we sometimes have to go back, and say, hey, those accusations against the Shah were unfounded, and those who were who were presenting these allegations, who are the same people who today have turned Iran and the Middle East into hell. I mean, they just launched missiles all over the Middle East. These are the same people who fabricated lies against the Shah. But again, anyone who doubts this, I'll be more than happy to walk you and talk you through every single one of the talking points from the opponents of the Shah.
No, absolutely, Danny, and I think that you said actually something fantastic here. I think, and if listeners on the on Goldie's space, if you have got questions, if you need to know about the history of Iran, especially when it comes to the recent history of Iran. Like, my history of Iran stops when by Safavid dynasty. Then after that, I'm a bit of a kind of a new learner rather than anything else. So do raise these questions to people who like Danny and other people here. We have got our researcher Lulu, which is sitting on a listener that has got huge amount of information. If you're not following Danny or you're not following Lulu, follow them. They put so much stuff out that it will take you days to read, but it's a fantastic read one way or another. So, but Danny, that's a great idea. I think we need to educate, and the best education comes from the Iranians. We've been there, we've seen it, we read it, we know what's going on. Malka, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for letting me speak. I just wanted to say thank you to our American allies. It is very important when I hear an American understands what we say, what we've been saying about how that chaos happened in 1978. And when we tell them that this happened to us, now you be careful because we don't want to see that happen again. That is really amazing. And I would like to say thank you to Miss Scorpio here for understanding that how the Democrat Party in the US caused all this chaos. And now the continuance of that was in 2009 and continued, and nobody did anything. And thank God for the new leadership, for our President Trump here in the United States who understands the material of the government of Islamic Republic, um, took a stand, stood behind the truth, and did what it was needed to be done. And I'm very thankful for that. Thank you so much. And please, I see people going to other chaos spaces asking about how it happened and talking about our king. I'm an Iranian Jewish woman, okay? The life that we had in Iran from the beginning of Reza Shah the Great, we call it golden life. We call it golden life. Reza Shah the Great took us out of the dungeons of terrible life situation that Qajar dynasty brought upon us, and helped us and brought us and mixed us into the um, into the mainstream and let us live and gave us permission to live like humans again. And the whole 50 years, the whole 50 years from Reza Shah to the God bless his soul, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. Um, Nowhere in the world we had that life. And I say that because I experienced it, my family did, and my family actually immigrated to Iran from Russia. My great grandparents immigrated from Russia and refuged into Iran. And We made it, Iran, our home, and we are proud. We love it, and thank you so much, you guys. And if you have any questions about Iran, always ask the Iranian people. Nobody knows better than them. And don't let the propaganda um, change your um, change the truth. You know, there are so many people here talking about um, false information. They're changing history. But thank God we have very wise and educated people here. And please don't let the hate and false information cause division among us. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Malika. Thank you very much. Iconoclast, welcome, welcome. You've been hiding.
Yes, no, thank you. I've been working. I know I'm not independently rich like you guys and can't spend my time on spaces. I have to work. So basically, yeah, I'm doing that right now as I'm talking to you. So basically, just I need to just check one quick thing here. Okay, there we go. So basically, everything is moving very quickly. The Assembly of Experts has reached two final options for Khamenei's succession. One is Moshtaba Khamenei, the other is Hassan Khomeini, who is more in the Khatami slash Rafsanjani camp. So they're preparing internally for the possibility that there is a decapitation, that they can satisfy America. Israel is a different matter. Israel has a much better understanding of what's happening in the country and who's who, but at least the world, they want to satisfy them and say, okay, we'll throw a few pieces of meat your way, and we'll put the white flag up. And so, in order to protect the remnant of what is left of their infrastructure, and that's why the succession plan has been activated. And Khamenei not only is hiding, but is also very inaccessible, apparently. Even though, who am I to know exactly what's going on? I just read stuff on Twitter. But at least I have discernment, and I have the fact that I've been following the story for all my, adult life. And so I know, how to read between tea leaves and divide the signal from the noise. At least I've got that going for me. So basically, they're internally preparing for the possibility
Gold,
of
so Iconoclast,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Goldie, guys, do you know have you heard the news? It's breaking news. Have you heard what's happened? Goldie?
Yes.
What?
So what news? You just open your mic. What?
Another missile attack. Missile attack.
The
No, this
IRGC
is
has
a
attacked American bases in Oman.
Yeah, yeah, that yeah, Oman, Qatar, right, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Yeah, we have discussed that in few minutes ago. I believe Qatar has already shut those down, as Andy was saying. So correct.
Okay,
Uh,
so I'm just going to continue with the analysis of the political
yes,
side.
please.
On the military side, the paper tiger has been activated.
There's other breaking news.
What is it?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The IRGC, one of their various media outlets, put out a telegraph tweet, which says, "This is our message to the world: all oil tankers, cargo ships, and tourist vessels must stay away from the Strait of Hormuz." And there's a red circle around it. So that was put out. So that is an official warning that they have officially closed it. I know it was earlier they voted to do so, and actually.
Okay, Arya, the parliament is a meaningless body. It's used for internal communication, and they don't make the decisions. The parliament doesn't decide. The supreme leader does, and a group of clerics that are around him. And then they order the IRGC to execute their decision. The parliament gets together and says fun things like that because the rest of the world looks to the parliament and for internal consumption. But the Chinese have said, "Don't you dare do that. We're not doing well economically. We don't want inflation in China." So I don't think the Strait of Hormuz is going to be very serious because they can't take on the world. They know that if they do that, all the great powers will click against them in a unit. And that is something they can't afford. That strategy was created with the imaginary backdrop of a messianic figure that was going to come. And then they were going to launch all of their sleeper cells, the Venezuela operation, and take down the Strait of Hormuz and then take over the United States and claim that their God won. It was with the backdrop of that thinking that those strategies were devised. They were not devised with the idea that they would be isolated by the world order, that their friends, China and Russia, would abandon them, that Israel would have a miraculous victory, and that the United States would bomb their nuclear facilities. That was not the backdrop of these strategies that they had created. That's why they cannot put it into place. That's why they're locked and lost. Okay, so you have to analyze things from the point of view of the context of the political organism that you're trying to study. So none of this is going to matter. They're losing. That's clear. So what's the next thing? So I was saying internally, they're preparing for power transition in order to survive and keep the system afloat. They're trying to throw a bone to the world order and sacrifice the top. So that's what they're doing internally. Second, Israel's operation is far from complete. The ambassador of Israel said that there's an intelligence operation designed for the Islamic Republic that'll make the pager operation look like simple stuff. That hasn't been launched yet. Today we saw the destruction of the IRGC building with live casualties in it. So that was new. Yesterday, we saw the destruction of the cybersecurity office, which was designed mainly for internal espionage on the people to keep them under control. That was interesting. Today, we saw the blowing up of the Evin prison doors, the main prison that holds the political prisoners that are the leaders of dissent. That was interesting. So wait, we can't analyze what's going to happen until we see the full extent of Israel's operations and the damage that it's going to do to the institutional integrity that is the basis of the Islamic Republic. As long as the institutions are woven together and hold, you see, the way it's designed is that people are given an incentive to obey their superiors who run the institutions, not to serve the people. So if the people go and scream and stuff outside, as long as the institutions hold, the system holds. So Israel is now going to target the institutional integrity of the system. That's the next stage. Now they're trying to save themselves because they're realizing the handwriting's on the wall. And meanwhile, the opposition is organizing outside and for the first time meeting with very important people in Congress and among European leadership. Now, it's clear that the Crown Prince is going to be leading that opposition. There's no doubt about that. He's the main figure that the entire world understands and knows. I mean, name me one other opposition figure if you're not Iranian. Just name me one. You won't be able to even name one. Second, he has the most sophisticated network within the country among the opposition that he hasn't activated yet fully, even though there is enough information that shows that there's a resistance movement that is working very closely with the Mossad agency of the Jewish state. Then there is the fact that the opposition is accepting him as a transition leader, and he's saying that people from within the regime are calling him. So he's got the name. You know, he carries the weight, and he carries a symbol of the monarchy, and he also carries the burden of partly doing right for things that may have gone wrong in the past. Like he said it himself. These are his words, not mine. He said, at the time when the country needed reform, it got revolution. And at the time where it needs revolution, it's getting reform. He said that during the reform movement of the early 21st century. So let's move on. There's a lot of moving parts politically happening on both sides of the fence. Israel's operations have not completed. We have to wait to see the full extent of the damage. And the paper tiger has activated against empty places and warned Qatar beforehand to minimize casualties, even though they went on television and they said, we're not going to aim for empty places this time, like we did with General Soleimani. But they did, because they want to not get everybody so mad at them so that somebody within the regime can survive and make a deal with the world. If they go, gung ho against the entire global order and America, then there'll be no one left to make a deal with anybody from within that system. That is right now their only hope for survival. They want to show force and some teeth so that they send a message internally, yet they want to minimize the casualties so that they can actually start to negotiate from within the system through closed doors. Now, the world order is going to weigh who is going to offer more stability, the resistance that's completely against them, or anyone from inside. And I believe that they are going to come to the conclusion that there is no point in making a deal with a government that has barely any popular support. In the last election, only 10% of the population voted for them. They don't have any support internally, so the world's not going to invest in them. Bottom line, their time is up. The blood that they caused and eventually poured over, and justice was delivered from Jerusalem. And this is where we are now in the story of the Islamic Republic of Iran and their ill fated apocalyptic war against the things they don't understand.
Thank you, Akon. As usual, a very comprehensive cover up. Thank you very much. I just received news that apparently, Mark, I'll come to you in a second. Apparently, Qatar is threatening now to hit Iran in retaliation of the missile attack that has come to hit the air base, the bases of U.S. bases in Qatar. Mark, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I was basically just letting you know I was back. At this point, it does appear that this is limited in scale, kind of choreographed. It was clear at the beginning that uh, Iran was at least telegraphing to Qatar. Barack Ravid at Axios is reporting that it was also conveyed to Trump before the attack. The number of missiles used now, 10, that were aimed at the U.S. Air Base in Qatar, was minimal. So Iran clearly is trying to say, hey, here's your offering on Trump if you want it. Now, the question is whether or not Trump will take it. And there's a lot to weigh, right? Because there are U.S. troops involved in the region. There are a lot of civilians, obviously, in the Gulf region as well. And whether or not Trump wants to escalate this or not. And then there's the negotiating factors to consider. The fact that Iran might be able, and I mean the Islamic Republic, might be able to have the last kinetic action. Is that really what Trump wants to define as unconditional surrender? Is that going to make the Iranians the Islamic Republic officials more apt to concede at the negotiating table, or does Trump need to respond? So those are kind of the question marks we don't know. So far, the reporting is that Trump has not yet joined the national security meeting, but sometimes those kind of reports are dated. So lots of marks right now. And I don't want to get ahead of them because it's just not clear here. This is a tricky one to analyze, only because it's pretty obvious that Iran is saying, "Look, we don't have much left in the tank," and they're trying to save face domestically and trying to signal globally, that we want to give up. But whether what they want to give up is enough for the Trump administration to accept remains to be seen.
Um, Mark, before I go to Scorpio and Danny, just a very quick question. What do you think? I mean, there are multiple reports. U.S. The bases were empty anyway. There's a report that says Qatari has basically has intercepted all the missiles, and that they say there's been no damage. Of course, the IRGC says we've destroyed the bases. So there you go. I think they wouldn't have said anything otherwise. But now, what do you think is going to be the response of the countries, the Arab countries that have basically been attacked now, technically speaking, even though they don't have any reason to intercept the missiles, but it still isn't their sovereign thing. So, what do you think their the noise from them going to be?
Yeah, again, just real quick on the RGC claim that they destroyed the base. I mean, I'm hearing no indications that that's the case, that the THAADs intercepted every missile that was directed at it. So that just tells you, again, it's kind of confirmation that much of this was just meant for domestic consumption inside of Iran, wanting to delude people that they're somehow still in charge, that they're still able to respond, and that they can even take on, in their words, not mine, the great Satan. So again, they're seeking an off ramp here. In terms of how the Gulf states, et cetera, will respond, I think from their standpoint, they're not going to get ahead of the U.S. in any regard. We've seen the condemnations, that's to be expected, but that could also be kabuki theater. The Gulf states have long been trying to figure out how to avoid this. They don't want to see their own oil facilities and infrastructure damaged. So I really doubt, other than harsh words, you're going to see any kind of kinetic action from them. They'll probably, in some ways, try to signal to say, "Hey, let's call this a day. Trump take the win." But whether or not Trump sees it that way, remains to be seen. But I just don't see them getting ahead of the U.S. in terms of doing any kind of military response themselves, even though it's their airspace, their territory that's been violated. But again, it's just so early on, time will tell. But great question. Fair question.
Thank you, Mark. So who do you have?
Sorry, I have a breaking news.
Shona Zenning, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's a podcaster. It's not news media. It says he refers to Mr. President Trump, truth social media. Trump threatens Russia with submarine delivered nuclear attack after Moscow pushes plan to arm Iran with nukes. I don't know how truthful this is, but this is Alex Jones. You may know him. He's a very influential podcaster who was supporting Trump. But recently, he is pushing against Trump because he bombed Tehran. And I'm a little bit concerned about these people who turn against Trump after he bombed Iran, like Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owen, and a couple of parliament members. What do you see in the future of these people's action who apparently were not really Trump supporters because they don't trust Trump's decisions? But what happens next?
Do you
Thank you.
want me to read the real Truth Social? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Please,
Uh,
please. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sophia.
it is. Let me find it. And yeah, Alex Jones is a traitor too. All of them. It was the one about the N word. When did he write it? Damn it. Sorry.
I have it up. I
You
can
have
send it
it?
to you if you would like. Yeah, or I
Yeah.
can read it if
Go
you
for it.
prefer.
Read it.
Okay. Did I hear former President Mendeleev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word, nuclear, and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Question mark. Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of my imagination? Question mark. If he did say that, and if confirmed, please let me know. Capital immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. I guess that's why Putin, capitals, the boss, by the way, if anybody thinks our hardware was great over the weekend, far and away the strongest and best equipment we have, 20 years advanced over the pack, is our nuclear submarines. They are the most powerful and lethal weapons ever built and just launched the 30 Tomahawks. All 30 hit their mark perfectly. So, in addition to our great fighter pilots, thank you to the captain and crew. So, you might be able to read it that way, but it's not a direct threat, right? Anything that comes out of Alex Jones's mouth since he started ranting about Sandy Hook years ago should be thrown away. Although there's some really funny songs on YouTube where people have put direct statements from him into explaining various sci-fi and anime movie plots. Quite comically. Back to you guys. Thank
Thank you, Arya. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Nazanin John. Yeah, take anything comes out of Alex's mouth with kind of a pinch of salt, and try to ignore. Danny, you had your hand up, buddy. Go for it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you
So
so much.
how about a
No
more
worries.
how about a source a little more serious or more let's say more serious or authoritative than the than Alex Jones, Mr. Alex Jones. Homeland Department of Homeland Security says this was from yesterday. If the Ayatollah in Iran issues a fatwa, there is a high risk of extremist attack, rated Islamist attack on U.S. soil. You see, this is what I mean when you should when a head of state or a head of government speaks, you need to be clear with your terms. This is an Islamic republic. It is an Islamist government regime. It is an Islamic. It's a trans or cross international Islamist agenda. When you kick the can down the road, so to speak, eventually you suffer the consequences. I mean, a cancer is a perfect metaphor for what Islamists are. It's a cancer, the tumors of which just keeps on spreading and spreading if you don't stop it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. But the thing is that this is President Trump's style, and we kind of got used to his style now. Okay, that he will say things, okay, as it comes to his head, and he says them, and I think then people start interpreting basically what he's trying to say. But you're absolutely 100% right that the head of the states need to be a little bit more careful on the terminology that they use.
Hey,
But
I'm back now. Sorry, I was away from my phone for a bit. What did I miss? What I
what you
mean,
missed,
that's a loaded question. I know. What's the what's the status of the attacks on the U.S. bases?
Right. Okay. So the reports are that all the missiles that were sent towards Qatar have been intercepted. IRG says that they have hit the U.S. bases and have destroyed them. So go with the Qataris. Don't go with the IRGC one. That's definitely the more true version of the story. And Danny, what else did we discuss? I'm tired. My brain
All
doesn't
right,
work
I was
anymore.
talking about Homeland
There,
Security. Yes,
Thank you.
put a statement
yeah.
out saying, hey, if the Ayatollah issues a fatwa, there can be extremist attacks on U.S. soil. There's
See, that's a problem because right now we're seeing on U.S. soil all these like Pakistanis and
yeah.
Arabs and like Afghanis who are out there in the streets and they're like shaking their asses for Khamenei's money. That's the one thing people don't realize is that these extremists that you guys have to worry about, it's not us. Are Iranians part of them? Yes, but I would say probably about maybe like 10% of the people that you see there who are like with these extremists are Iranian, and even the Iranians themselves are a little bit more sophisticated. The problem with the Pakistanis and the Afghans and like those sorts of people is that their cultures are just if you're radicalized within that culture, it's just so fundamentally different. And it's not even a racist thing to say, it's just the truth. Like, I mean,
It's a culture of what you call it, like indoctrination and
yeah,
brainwash. Really, it's a
yeah.
mass. Like you got 200 million Jew haters without exceptions. You know what I mean?
And it's so bad. And honestly, I think part of it, and maybe Khalid can speak to this, because we don't really talk about like racism in the Middle East, but we all kind of know how it goes, especially in certain Gulf countries. But oh my gosh, okay, someone wants to call me. I can't do this right now. I can't take that call, otherwise the space will crash. I'll have to call them back. Where was I? Oh, jeez, I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, like this is how indoctrinated these people are, especially like the Pakistanis. I actually saw this video of this guy. So he's like this totally like radicalized Pakistani, and he has been the one that's leading the like pro Hamas demonstrations. Like he calls Hamas resistance fighters, glory to the resistance, and blah blah blah. Like this guy is so delusional that he actually filmed himself. I guess he bought like an old school, old fashioned key or something. And he filmed himself giving the key to his son. And he's saying, "This is the key to our house that the Jews took. And we're going to go back to Palestine and we're going to get our house back." And then people in the comments are like, "Dude, you're Pakistani. Like, you're not even Arab. Like, what the hell are you talking about?" But like, this is the level of delusion that like these jihadis have. So you guys have to take this threat seriously.
Yes, and Goldie, can
Part
I
of
just say something on
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
And Khalid, you can definitely confirm this. The Muslim Brotherhood attempted and succeeded, if I'm not mistaken, assassinating one of the two Egyptian presidents. They targeted Anwar Sadat. They targeted Jamal Abdel Nasser, or Gamal Abdel Nasser as they pronounce it in Egypt. They targeted the king of Jordan, and twice they targeted our king. That same Muslim Brotherhood today has people in US mainstream media across all, across all maybe most of the states of the United States and universities, Columbia, NYU. I mean, they're everywhere. These people are extremely dangerous. At the same time, they think and plan long term. And Khalid, I'd be very happy if we could talk about them more and the danger that this terrorist group poses
So I
to the
actually
United States
just
and to
put
the
up an
world.
article on Islamic Republic.
Guys, don't put too much articles up in the nest because the space was glitching earlier. So like I had to spend a lot of time removing things because people were getting kicked out. So if
Okay.
you guys could just like,
You want me to
yeah,
put it
just put it
in
purple
the
pill.
pill? All right.
Yeah, and I don't know, Hassan, I'm driving. Do you know how to like remove some of the things up top?
Yes.
I'll remove
Like
mine
I
and
just
I'll
I
put it
just
in the
I
pill.
just yeah, I just want the stuff from like Pahnabi up there really. Um but yeah, because like the space glitched out earlier and like a whole bunch of people like dropped out. Like Mark was even out of the space for like 5 minutes or something,
Sorry.
poor guy.
So
No, that's all good. It's just the space glitches. I don't know, people reporting it or
so they
something.
try to assassinate President Trump before he was elected in November. Um
Yeah, we know that. That's why we're saying President Trump holds a grudge against Khamenei, and he's not going to let it go. That's why I think what's happening right now is personal because President Trump is it's payback for him. It's not just about international. It's not just about like the conflict. It's personal for him. He wants to go after the people who basically tried to get him exterminated.
Goldie, I'm not. It doesn't give me the ability or the functionalities to remove the ones on the top, unfortunately. So
All right, I'll do
yeah,
it.
I do apologize. So I
Oh, that's
can't
okay.
do that one for you.
All right.
Where is it me or is there's no hands up? Or oh, no.
there's
No, it's
three
you.
hands up.
Oh,
Me,
I had my hands up.
Avesta and
Avesta.
Araya.
yeah, I can't see any hands. So they
I just want to quickly, just because Goldie mentioned Pakistan, I just want to add something to this. It's a very important thing. I'm not sure how many people have paid attention to this, but if you look at Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, these three countries, they're Muslims. They think they're the only Muslims in the world. They think that they're the true Islam. And you look at Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, it has highest crime rate, highest murder, highest theft, highest kidnapping, highest children selling, organ selling, highest poverty, highest basically disease, dirt, the streets are unclean, and everything you tell them, they say, no, this is Sharia law. But if that's Sharia law, what is the one in UAE? What is the one in Saudi Arabia? What is the one in Kuwait? You cannot tell me you are a bigger Muslim than the Arabs who made peace with Israel.
ببین آبستا میدونی وقتی که میگن there's like a saying میگن کاسه نمیتونه از آش داغ‌تر باشه or
Kasa
something.
dakhtar az ab.
Exactly. The bowl,
So
kase dakhtar, the bowl hotter than the actual soup.
yeah,
This is they are that exactly. And
so
then you tell them, you're like,
they're
oh no,
so
all
so
these Arabs.
let me just explain. So the saying basically means that it's like you're trying to be too much, like you're trying to be even more of something than the original thing, right? So like essentially here, like the Pakistanis and the Bangladeshi and the those like the brown
They've been
Muslims.
programmed this
Yeah.
way. I don't believe, because first of all, their countries are new, 77 years.
Listen, they're
Uh,
basically trying to make up for the fact that they're not Arab. They're not Arab Muslims because Arab Muslims look down on them because that's the racial tensions of the Middle East. I mean, that's just the
yeah, but
reality.
the
Like we all
hatred,
know
I'm
that.
saying the hatred, the Jew hatred is systematic. It's not normal.
Avesta,
Yeah,
You don't, they
because
have
they want
sentences.
because
They
they
have
think
sentences.
they're outdoing the Arab Muslims. Like, and while the
And
Arab
I've listened
Muslims
to
have
their
all
imams.
normalized.
I've listened to their imams. They only care about political deen, political religion. The imams sit in the mosque, instead of talking about, I don't know, khums, zakat, rozeh, Ramadan, fasting, donating, heaven, hell, these kind of things. He's talking about, oh, Russia and China in today's world. But man, are you a political analyst, or are you a imam who's a spiritual imam? This is the problem we have. Like, they all trying to make this religion a
Avesta,
political,
can I say something?
systematic jihad.
Avesta, can I say something
Yeah,
to
go
you?
ahead.
When it comes to the UAE, and now this is becoming true about Saudi Arabia, the UAE not at the federal level, not at the emirate level. There are 7 emirates in the entire federation. Not at the federal level, not at the emirate level. Do they have Sharia law? Except for one particular aspect called the personal status code. Personal status code. So, for example, if you are a Muslim uh, and you want to marry,
Guys, we're getting a little bit we're
I'll make
getting a
it.
little
I'll
bit too
wrap it
much
up
in the weeds
quickly,
here.
Goldie. The point of
I
Mike.
just but
I'll, I'll wrap it
I
up. I'll
want to
wrap
go
it
to
up.
no, no, like, stop going to
Gosh.
listen. We're getting too much in the weeds on this. Um, what I really more focused on is, where could this threat come from? Because our listeners need to understand that, this potential threat, it's not coming from the Iranians. It's coming from these radicalized groups. And, I'd like to go to Khalid a little bit on this because this is sort of Khalid's area of expertise. So Khalid, where do you see, like, um, these potential, threats, who are like loyal to the IRGC, like these Islamists? Can you give us some more info on, who, where, what they might be, given like your knowledge of this sort of stuff?
Hi, Goldie. Yes, it's actually very interesting because you can see. I was talking to someone today about this, someone who actually, a senior fellow at the Henry Jackson Society, who wrote a report on, the Iran threat essentially and the IRGC threat from a UK perspective. And I think what's very interesting is that the UK has become, pretty much a hub for all kinds of Islamist terrorism, whether it's Shia or Sunnah. That's just the case. So in the UK, we actually face a much greater threat than the US. Thankfully, because the US, generally speaking, like the entire country, it's quite big. There are no specific concentrations of, Muslim populations, except for obviously Dearborn, Michigan. So that's a different scenario. But in the UK, we have a lot of pockets of extremism across the UK. So, by pockets of extremism, I mean almost every major UK city now has neighborhoods where you have, higher concentration of people from Pakistan, Afghanistan. The majority of them are Sunni, not Shia. So that, kind of, reduces the risk. But I would probably say in the UK, the risk is really quite, high, I would say, moderate to high at least, depending on what happens. So if we have a fatwa from someone, like, the supreme leader, then that could seriously lead to some issues. And we've seen that. We've also seen how our own police, for example, when, we had Iranians protesting outside the Iranian embassy, protesting against the supreme leader and, the Islamic Republic, and they were beaten up. Like they were actually beaten up, by pro regime maniacs. And then they were pretty much, some of them were actually arrested. Some of them, were not treated as victims in many ways. So we have a serious issue in the UK. Thankfully, the US doesn't. So because that could be a serious, that's a serious factor for President Trump when he's dealing with the potential of retaliating to this attack that the maniacs launched today. He will be thinking of this. But if he retaliates and if he does it seriously, and the regime feels seriously threatened, they might go ahead and say, right, you know what, anyone, anywhere, if you can carry out terrorist attack even using a knife, go ahead and do it. And that's the main threat with President Trump in many ways, because obviously, American lives lost in this war will be quite an issue for him, politically speaking. In the UK, we're far worse. In Canada, sadly, I have to say, Goldie, and I think we both agree on this. You're
Listen,
actually far worse than pretty much
Canada,
everyone else.
Canada has become the trash can of the Middle East. Like every single Islamist is coming to Canada pretty much at this point.
Exactly. So Canada is, in my view, it's a lot worse than the UK even. And I say that the UK, the UK and France are mostly, the most challenging in Europe. But I think Canada is far, far worse. So Canada, the risk is definitely, I'd probably say, high to even potentially extreme. Uh, but the US, thankfully, is not. I don't really know, what we can to do to mitigate this risk. Obviously, I think, everyone in counterterrorism now is working overtime. and they have been, for a while, probably since October 7th anyway, but even more so since June 13th. So we'll have to wait and see and hope, hope for the best. But I think we should expect something to happen somewhere because this regime is not going to fall without saying, right, we have a terrorist cell somewhere, let's activate it because we're just going to teach them. That's essentially how it works with them.
Yeah.
So hoping for the best, but yeah.
Absolutely, and I want to welcome Noya, and I want to go to Noya for all the updates. But just a quick thing for the listeners, we have been warning you, the Iranians, the Jews, lots of other people like counterterrorism experts. We have been warning you about the threat in the West, about this Islamism threat, this radicalism threat, and the vast majority of people haven't taken us seriously. I can tell you, like for me, I've been raising awareness about the Iran issue, especially as it relates to Canada, and because it is a Canadian problem, and people were like, "Oh, that's not a Canada issue. Why don't you focus on Canada?" Or why do you always talk about Iran? And I'm like, because it's related. Because I'm seeing the signs here. And now, yesterday there was a protest, in support of like Khamenei in front of the U.S. consulate, and there were a bunch of like wild jihadi. I don't know if they were like Hezbollah or like Palestinian or something. There were a few Iranians amongst them, but for the vast majority of them, they were like the same pro-Hamas crowd. They were out there like waving flags of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and holding pictures of the freaking Ayatollah Khamenei, calling him a hero and the leader of the resistance. Meanwhile, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is a listed terror entity in Canada, and yet these people are freely going out there. So we have a serious Canada has a serious
Are they
radicalizing
prescribed in
problem.
Europe, Goldie? Are they?
I don't think they're prescribed in Europe, but they're on the terror list. Like I fought for that. It was just about this time last year that we managed to put them on the terror list. But anyways, it's a whole other issue. But these jihadis are still out there. Noya, welcome. Can you please give us all of the updates, because we've seen so many things, but you know we're still waiting for news, and now we've seen these missile launches by the Ayatollahs. I guess Israel really pissed them off.
Yeah, I mean, you mean the missile launches towards Israel and or the American base in Qatar? Which one do you mean, or both?
Both, like all of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole. I mean, I don't know if you saw that already because you probably don't really follow IRGC channels because they're garbage, but like the fact that they had like. AI video, like 3D demonstration of the attack on the Qatari base that came out like 1.5 minutes after the the attack was happening, only shows you what a coordinated freak show this shit was. I mean,
Now you know why we don't watch this, because they have been doing this nonsense for 46 years and we just don't pay attention.
I get
But
it, and I totally
welcome
get
to
you.
like the reality of being Iranian. It's such a honestly, it's a weird dystopia to live in.
You
What,
know,
what kind of AI
like
videos were they showing?
we thought that our government is like fucked up, but like your government is like a whole.
Oh, you haven't seen
Yeah, I
anything.
haven't
Any we
seen
can
anything apparently. Like my
just imagine these guys created. Just let that thinking. These guys created coronavirus detector. It's like an antenna that you hold in the air, and it was supposed to detect coronavirus from
shut
100 meters
up, no
away.
way.
I swear. I show it to you. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna post it. Post
Goldie,
it.
can you
Goldie,
approve
can I
that?
pin it to
Noya,
the top?
Noya, they did a poll one time. I think this was like right after October 7th. I have to find the video because I think
Can
I
I
tweeted
post the
about it.
virus detector, Goldie? Can I
Oh,
post the virus
yeah,
detector
go
on
for it.
top?
Go post the virus
Thank you,
detector.
thank you.
They
Just
did
one
a
second.
they did another one poll, Noya. I think it was like right after October 7th, and it was like this woman. It's like supposed to be some sort of like daytime talk show TV, but except she's in full hijab because she's psycho like the rest of them. And then she's like, all right, ladies, my sisters, I have a survey for you. And in her sweet voice, she's like, I want you to call in and answer this survey for me. And there's two options. So the question is, do you think that the evil Zionist regime is a cancer on earth and should be destroyed? Call in and dial number 1 if your answer is yes, and dial number 2 if your answer is yes, absolutely.
Oh
the
man.
choices were between, yeah, the choices were between yes and yes, absolutely. I'm telling you, that's how fucked up Islamic regime TV is.
Like I'm wondering, you know,
I I
when you have on.
I think I just pinned it on top, guys. You can what you can see.
Okay,
This is
thanks,
the
thanks.
device, and this is the first week of COVID-19 outbreak that they said, oh yeah, we've come up with this device and it can detect the coronavirus from freaking miles away.
It
And like,
reminds me.
and
It
swear to
reminds me
God,
that
and the
video.
supporters were like, wow, you have got this stuff. Oh, we're so powerful, and it's
All right.
rubbish.
Let's let Noah give us the updates before we get sidetracked,
No,
because
sorry.
that's a whole other
It
space. No,
reminds
no, no.
me
Go ahead.
when Saddam Hussein was like, there was this video when you see Saddam Hussein like proving like the newest weapon on his military, and it was like bottle like glass. Glass bottles with like Molotov cocktails in them. It's the same bullshit. Sorry, Goldie. I don't know where to start with the updates. To be honest, I'm like I don't know from which point did you stop following. But regarding the American attack, the
Wherever you want to start with.
yeah, like I feel like my head is exploding. Like I seriously need a vacation after all of this. So yeah.
Come to Tehran. We'll host you in Tehran for a
Well,
vacation.
surprisingly enough, Goldie, you can't fly from Israel anywhere right now, but the only place you can fly from Israel seems to be Tehran. So, I mean, it might not be that far away, definitely. But I'm supposed to fly to Saint Tropez, and I'm really hope that this one is going to work out. Um, but yeah, like regarding, first of all, regarding the attack on the American base, this was all coordinated with Qatar. We know that it was even a Qatari suggestion to make it look like so. The US was updated. They knew exactly which kind of missiles they're gonna shoot. I saw on Telegram channel already way before the attack, like 2 hours before the attack, which missiles are they going to shoot, how many are they going to shoot, and so on and so on and so on. So I mean, that was just a circus, and it's okay that it was a circus. They say that they launched 10 missiles. Of course, they claim they completely destroyed the base. Qatari authorities saying that there was no one hit, nothing hit, all the missiles were intercepted. So that's about that. Um, Israel is targeting some very interesting targets in Tehran today, and I think in Iran today, and I think that the most interesting one that we maybe want to talk about is the Evin. You say it Evin, or how do you say it?
Yeah,
Ev-
Avin. Yeah, Avin
Okay, so
prison.
the Evin prison. I mean, this was. I mean, looking at the structure of the prison, they really precisely targeted the administration building, the meeting rooms, and also the prosecution of of the jail. So, and of course the gates. Yeah, but they really avoided hitting anywhere where the prisoner quarters are. um, I know that there may be a possibility now that they will try to move some of the prisoners or all the prisoners to Tehran, to the central Tehran jail in parallel. And I think, and I'm going to say it very cautiously, or you know what, I'm going to write it to you before I'm going to say it cautiously. So I'm going to get to that one on the end. I will write you first if I can say it, and then I will give you more information. But this was a precision, precision strike, of course, that was planned to, of course, help the people release themselves from the jail. Of course, we know that there are also other jail for people who reject the IRGC. We know the Rajai Shar, the Karon, the Korashtat. Sorry if I'm not saying it right. There are calling in Israel that are calling to bomb all these jails at once and one go. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that is what the people from Israel are calling on the military to do. Yeah, and that's it.
You
And
mean like bomb the jails to like kill the prisoners, or just bomb
no, bomb the
to
jails,
release
like
them?
Bomb the
the
gate so
gate.
people can come
Yeah,
out,
Yeah, the gates and the
to cause havoc and
yeah,
then
yeah,
let them
yeah.
out.
yeah.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad idea. Not necessarily a bad idea. I mean, if you guys are looking for things to target, I mean, the cranes where they hang people, that's always a good,
Yeah, but
good
these
target.
things comes last because it
Yeah,
considers,
of
like,
course.
as a symbol.
But here's the thing, but if you want to go after like some top people, go after the mullahs. the mullahs, like because I know the
Or
IRGC
is it
leaders.
possible to destroy maybe a few of Israeli drones can destroy some, I don't know, CCTVs, because they got these face detecting Chinese
Yeah, we
smart
talked about
cameras
it.
that
We talked
they
about
moved with you.
about it.
They move with you. You know, when you turn your face, it just turn
Avesta,
with
we
you.
talked about it like I think 2 or 3 spaces ago. I understand that for you guys, this is a target that is like super important right now. I mean, we're not even there yet. For us, I
Listen, yeah, I think what's really helpful for us to know is what are you guys thinking, or what would you like? What are some of your priorities, and then we can give suggestions based on that,
I mean,
right?
specify
Yeah.
here what
But
our priority.
oh yeah, no, no, but you know what I mean. Like, I mean, don't like tell me, but you know what I mean.
Priority number one, Khamenei. Priority number two,
No,
CCTVs. Priority
no, no,
number
no,
three,
no. We
checkpoints.
no stop. We want Khamenei alive. Listen. Pahlavi deserves to have Khamenei alive to get his revenge through a huge, beautiful Nuremberg trial and make Khamenei and every single one of those MFers who kicked out his family and ruined the country, let him have his day in court. Let's not take that away from the king, because I guarantee you, his press conference today, he has been waiting for 46 years to stand in front of the world and to call on Khamenei to step down before it's too late. So
How about the
that's why.
Mihan ice cream factory that was arresting Iranians in protest and raping them in those trucks of ice cream, the fridge trucks of ice cream? They were involved in 2022 and 2019 uprising, and they were putting all these protesters. So the ice cream factory in Mihan has to be demolished. So that's one thing. And the place that they store all these thousands of motorcycles that they come between the protesters and attack them with sprays and so on. So the storage of motor bicycles, those ones, they have to be gone. So those are my two suggestions.
Can I make a suggestion too? And I want you to know what you think about this, Goldie, and especially the ladies in the space. Obviously, all of them should go through due legal process. But I think the mullahs, for the entirety of their jail sentence or their prison sentence, they should be forced to wear the hijab. What do you think?
Okay. I mean that's not really military targets, but okay. Let's go back to Noya and let's get the updates because there's a
Yeah,
lot coming
yeah.
out of
Hey,
Tehran.
Goldie, could I rudely interrupt for
Um,
1 second because I've got to go? Noya, hello.
oh yeah,
Just
sure.
real quickly, and from what I've been able to learn so far, unless this is a head fake, uh, these attacks were basically kabuki theater, as Noya was saying. And the White House is signaling through multiple media outlets that Trump is not inclined to react. The one word that I keep hearing is that the Islamic Republic attacks were theatrical in nature and that they're willing to give some kind of off ramp. So, from that standpoint, time will tell. Again, I think Trump's going to have to define publicly what his unconditional surrender meant in light of these attacks. But right now, it seems like, and then there's also subsequent reporting that the U.S. officials are saying no other base it was attacked, despite reports that Bahrain, Iraq, et cetera, was potentially under fire. I know Arya was on earlier saying Saudi Arabia had sirens going off as well, but it appears that it was just centric to Qatar. And so, for now, the betting is what in Washington is that they're willing to give an off ramp to Iran if they'll really take it. So uh, Israel, though, meanwhile continues to attack, and I'll let Noya pick up from there. But I just wanted to leave you with
I have
that.
a message from Trump um 8 minutes ago. The sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed, and everyone knows it. Only the fake news would say anything different in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say they were pretty well destroyed. Working especially hard on the falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News CNN, um, Dumb Brian Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Call of ABC Fake News, and always the losers of, again, Comcast NBC Fake News. It never ends with the sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are at an all time low, zero credibility. So his message is don't trust the fake news, and we destroyed everything we hit in Iran.
I
Um,
just want to say thank you, Trump, for exposing the media. But on the other thing, the Arabic writings on the
Guys,
Qatari
I
account on
wanna
the attack.
sorry,
I'll just say one
stop,
sentence.
guys. Stop, Con. No, I want to go back to Noya because she has updates for us about what's been happening in Tehran. Her time is limited, so please, guys, unless it's like Trump has declared World War III, or like Khamenei is dead. Let's let Noya give us the updates because
it's
there's a
okay,
lot
Goldie.
that has gone on
Yeah,
in the city.
it's okay. I mean, this is I understand. You guys
Uh,
also have your.
yeah, but I mean, like, let's be honest. Trump calling ABC or CNN fake news, that's not breaking. We know that. We know that.
Just
I
want to
want to
say
know what's
Qatari
happening in
account are
Tehran.
saying it's a coordinated attack between Qatar and Islamic Republic, like the one in Pakistan and Islamic Republic a few months ago. That's it.
Thank you, Raha. All right, Noya, go ahead.
I don't remember where I was anymore. But let's.
Yeah, we were speaking about
Yeah.
Evin Prison. So Evin Prison was attacked. So I have heard from some people that the one of the walls that separated the women's area from the men's area, apparently that was destroyed, and some of the women were able to free themselves. So, like, basically, when people heard the news about so
No,
it's
no,
not
sorry,
true,
wrong
or I don't know,
emoji, wrong
thumbs up, thumbs
emoji.
down.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
That's also the reports that I saw.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so we have heard that because listen, every single time like word of Evin comes out, everyone rushes towards Evin prison because it's such a horrible place and people are always worried. So that gave people a lot of positivity. Some families apparently were able to rescue the women. We haven't received any further word from that, but I know word is spreading like wildfire. That's been a huge morale boost. So I think things like that go a long way. I want to hear more about what's happening in Tehran though, because like there's images and photos coming out, and it looks like I don't want to say it looks like a war zone. It looks like a very sort of like precise procedure. It's almost like you go in with a laser and you just like hit certain spots, and the rest is like totally fine. So, what have you guys targeted today, and how many people have you killed? Is it just me? Can anyone hear
I
Noya?
cannot hear. No, I can hear you. But what was your question about? What update were you looking for?
Well, I wanted an update from Noya, but I can't hear
Yeah, I
her.
can't hear her
Can
either.
anyone hear Noya?
She's dropped out now.
All right, okay. So probably her internet died, so she's gonna. All right, she's gonna come back then. She's just when I wanted the input there. All right, Arya, go ahead while we try to wait for Noah to come back.
Um, uh, two quick things, and then I also need to get going. And thank you again for having a space like this every day. I really do think it is essential, and it's the only one I've seen where there's actually dialectic and real conversation happening. Right? I know occasionally it gets a little silly with a joke or when the IRGC expert came up before. Um, but it is very needed. Just a couple of things. In my experience from hosting and co-hosting on other spaces, the Twitter app for Android users and OS users starts becoming unstable when you get above 7 posts. 7 to 8 posts in the nest seem to be the golden spot. Any more than that, you will start having major issues. Uh, I've seen some people that are claiming that that doesn't happen to them, but most people it does seem to happen. And then the second thing I'm just wanted to bring up, one of the various targets that the Israelis hit today, which I think is quite ironic, is there was a big clock in Tehran called the clock counting down to Israel's destruction, and the Israelis blew
Yeah, we
it
were
up.
we wanted Noya to give us the news.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. No problem. You can get the thunder. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, no, that was it. And I mean, they've been striking targets in Tehran for the last hour
Are you
nonstop.
talking about the one in Palestine Square?
I think
Palestine?
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not good with names, even of topics I'm much more familiar with than Iranian
Yeah.
So
geography.
She's still
Honestly,
breaking the news like that. But thank you, Aria. I appreciate that.
I hope
Um,
the whole square is destroyed
can
with
we
it
just
because it
get
was called the
Noya to
Valentine.
finish her diamond? For love of God, please! I'm
no,
begging you.
it's not that. I will tell you what the problem is. My brain is like in a mashed potato like sort of situation, and then when I'm like losing my train of thought, then like it's like white noise, you know. It's super hard. So again, I don't remember where I stopped, but before I dropped, I was talking about the command and control center of the IRGC. You guys probably heard about that. That one was also attacked. The pictures that are coming out of there are epic. I mean, it looks like a clip from Gaza, at least from the one that I'm getting. Of course, we also launched attacked launchers in Tabriz as well. And by the way, this attack that the IRGC have launched against the base in Qatar, that made them actually expose launchers. So now we are targeting those two. So they actually made us a big favor with that in a way. Let me think if I forgot something. Wait, I need to think. I need to think. I need to think. What else? What else did we attack in Tehran today? Yeah, it was the one of the most extensive wave of attacks that Israel have done today. That, as far as I know, they are trying to shift more to control and command centers, the Basij, the police, the judiciary. This we're going to see more and more of these attacks. I believe that also, if everything goes according to Israeli plans, after this weekend, the attacks will be over. So I really, really hope that we can achieve as much as we can during that short of time. I'm trying to look at my list if there's anything I missed. 1 second, I'm sorry. I was in so many spaces today, and it was like different spaces. So, you know, like they ask different questions, and my head is just like, yeah, I think that was it. Wait, no, no. Sorry, I'm checking. El Harir, no, that's Iraq. Yeah, I think that was it, if I'm not mistaken. But some of the targets are not being listed because of leak of information. I don't know why, because it's weird. Usually in Israel they report it, but I see that most of the reports are saying just multiple destinations in Tehran, Israeli attacks in Shiraz, Israeli attacks on launchers in Tabriz. What else? Yeah, that's all I see. They don't really specify the specific targets. I don't know why, and I'm guessing it is because it's things that has to do more with the Basij and the IRGC themselves rather than strategic targets. Yeah, and that's it. And I'm sorry, Goldie, that I'm not as articulate as usual, and that I don't have more information from you. But I seriously feel like I need 24 hours of like being in a dark room and just like sipping on margaritas or something, because I can't. My brain is not functioning. Those missiles are waking us up, you know, every day, like in the middle of the night, like 4 times a night and shit like that. So you don't really get your sleep, and then you're like going throughout your entire day, just completely tired. So I'm really sorry, guys. I'm a little bit in the end of my strength here.
No, no, it's understandable. I mean, you guys are taking the brunt of it, and as I understand that you definitely require rest and definitely need a holiday.